The word icon is one of the most overused words in the watch space, but I think there's a few examples where a watch has earned that title and it is something a bit more than just a watch, if that makes sense. For this video, we are going to define iconic as historically influential, plus culturally recognizable, not just expensive, and something that transcends time. So here are the 5 best and 5 worst iconic watches, in my opinion. I can feel the eye rolls already, I know. The Rolex Submariner isn't exactly an original or an unexpected choice, but it's a cliche for a reason. The Rolex Submariner has come to define the dive watch category and design template, with a unidirectional bezel, highly legible dial display, and it was at the forefront of this style of watch. Introduced in 1953 with its public debut at the Basel Watch Fair in 1954, it was developed as the first diver's wristwatch waterproof to a depth of 100 meters. Now, I can feel the comment section boiling already, but what about Blancpain? And yes, there were 2 divers released around the same time, with the official year from Blancpain being 1953. But it is still argued on whether it was actually made available, with Periscope arguing it was as late as 1955. Pedantic arguments about release years aside, as a watch, as an object, it has nearly perfect proportions, it's extremely versatile, fitting in at work or at home on the weekend, and has a massive cultural presence. It is popular for a reason, rock solid, 10 out of 10, no notes. Moving on to another staple on lists like this, the Omega Speedmaster. I think sometimes the Speedmaster can get written off as more of the enthusiast choice next to something like the Seamaster Diver 300, and while it isn't as widespread, it is probably the icon of Omega. I think this is the reason why it was chosen for the Moonwatch over the S&P 300. Okay, we all know that I need to say this, and everyone watching this video will already know this, but the Speedmaster was selected by NASA as the only watch qualified for their all-manned space missions, following some robust testing, and was the first watch worn on the moon in 1969. It is a very big deal that the Speedy could withstand the testing, and solidified it as an icon. Today, it remains one of the few manual winding chronographs, especially at the price category. The design has barely changed over the years. It doesn't need to. You know, I'm gonna keep Gerald Genta talk to a minimum here. I don't think many people are attracted to the Royal Oak because his name is attached to it. What I will say is that I think this is the ultimate Genta design. This was revolutionary in 1972. The design has barely changed, and it is still so appealing and attractive to look at even now. I haven't been into watches as long as a lot of people watching this video, and I remember the first time I saw the Royal Oak and thinking, whoa, what is that? It's still a design that is exceptional and appealing. I had never seen something that looked like this before, and I instinctually knew that I liked it. If we define iconic as historically influential, culturally recognizable, and transcends time, this hits it all. Historically influential, it created the luxury sports watch category as we know it today, and it began the era we are still living in to this day, where stainless steel tool watches could even be seen as luxurious and worth paying more for, especially contrasted against cheaper movement technology, i.e. quartz. This was revolutionary for its time. Culturally recognizable. I mean, if there's any brand tapping into this cultural moment, it's AP, maybe Cartier too, but instantly recognizable. And it transcends time. Like all of our icons on this list so far, the design has barely changed since its introduction. Next, the Cartier Tank. Does this really need an explanation? Do any of these? Am I wasting my time freezing in my garage? To me, this is one of the most beautiful watches ever made. It is genuinely timeless. First designed in 1917, then released to the public in 1919, the design has barely changed. Even now, 107 years later, people still love this watch. The Cartier Tank Santos Panther has brought in a whole new wave of young enthusiasts who seem to really enjoy smaller dress watches rather than big tool watches. I don't need to say anything more. Possibly the perfect watch design, and certainly the icon of Cartier. I think it would be wrong to not have a Casio of some kind on here. They are one of the most important watch manufacturers in the world, selling around 8.2 million G-Shocks per year and around 3 million F91Ws. And I think everyone watching this has owned a Casio at some point. I'm wearing a Casio right now. And I actually think this watch choice has shown my hand here a little bit because I have ultimately decided to go with the DW 5000 series as the ultimate iconic G-Shock. But it was a close call between this and the F91W. So the first G-Shock debuted in April 1983 with the DW 5000C. Created to be an unbreakable, indestructible watch, this model looks identical to the ones we know and love today. Featuring a 10-layer shock-resistant case designed to survive a 10-meter drop and 100 meters of water resistance. Every time I see a G-Shock, it still makes me happy. The perfect blend of nostalgia and function. 10 out of 10. So narrowing this down to 5 watches was tough, and it would be unforgivable negligence to not mention some of these. First, the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. I think this meets all the qualifiers we are looking for: historically influential, culturally recognizable, and transcends time. Great gimmick being introduced for polo players. To me, it skirts the lines of being sporty and dressy, although most enthusiasts would say it's an out-and-out dress watch. If I could have 6 watches on this list, this would have been the 6th. Next, the Tag Heuer Monaco. Motor racing people will always have a soft spot for this one. Worn by Steve McQueen, named after the famous racetrack, and celebrates Heuer's unique position in the sport. Also, the first square automatic chronograph, a niche title, but a title nonetheless. The Seiko SKX 007. This was the gateway watch for so many people. ISO certified diver, under $500. This probably introduced more people to the watch mental illness than any other watch. I also think the Patek Philippe Nautilus should be on here. So another Genta design. This was Patek's answer to the quartz crisis, a lot like Audemars Piguet, and I think it is the perfect watch in this category. Let's move on to the bad stuff. And before we go any further, none of these are objectively bad. Well, maybe a couple of them are. But tastes are so subjective and unique to you. So if you love any of these watches, have any of these watches, don't let me and my stupid little opinion get in the way of you loving a watch that you love. With that said, it seems only fitting to start off with maybe the most controversial watch brand out there, Hublot. It feels like Hublot has had an uphill battle since their introduction. The Big Bang is their icon. Either the Big Bang or the Classic Fusion, but the Big Bang is the one I'd put on this list. Launched at Baselworld in 2005 by Jean-Claude Biver, this is certainly a product of its time, taking the unique design codes of Hublot, unexpected materials, rubber, and put that into a very mid-2000s oversized package. It immediately became a bestseller for the brand and is upheld as their flagship model. So why is it on this side of the list? Well, the design is polarizing. Not just the design, but they're overpriced, especially since it houses a pretty pedestrian movement. One thing I will give Hublot is that they're slowly being updated to their Unico manufacture caliber, but I think it might be too late. The damage is done. I specifically made sure I booked an appointment with Hublot at Watches and Wonders. I'm with them on the Friday, and I'm going in with an open mind and hoping to be proven wrong. I don't think I will be, but who knows? You have to go in with open minds. For now, as my opinion is right now in my experience with Hublot, this is where I'm putting them. Let's go for some more low-hanging fruit and talk about Richard Mille. I have always been a bit of a defender of Richard Mille. I completely understand people's criticisms. They are insanely expensive. The design language is divisive, to put it kindly. I can't afford their cheapest model in my wildest dreams, but what I do respect about RM is their heavy investment into the engineering side of watches and R&D, research and development. They blend cutting-edge avant-garde materials with pretty classical and extensive hand finishing. Every component, titanium bridges, screws, tourbillon cages, undergoes meticulous polishing, beveling, everything by hand. It's like a very highbrow, high-end process on modern materials. It's combining these two worlds that aren't often put together. Like when people hate Hublot because they hate the design and the movements, I completely get it. But you can't carry over that same hatred to Richard Mille. The movements are insanely well done, but fair play if you aren't into the design. The reason I'm sticking RM on this side of the list is because I don't think they fulfill our working definition of icon. I think they will be, in the future, historically influential. They are certainly recognizable, but I don't think they will transcend time. I think in 2050, people will look back and think, ew, that's very of its time. That's my hunch. I could be wrong. One thing I will give them is that Richard Mille isn't afraid to evolve with the times. So if they play their cards right, I could be wrong, and I hope I am. You know, this one feels too low effort, but Daniel Wellington, bless them. As much as enthusiasts tease them, they were the first watch I ever noticed and wanted. When I was at university in Vancouver, back in 2012-ish, oh, these were all the rage. I remember so many people wore them, and I wanted one so bad. I thought they were so stylish, very minimal, very Scandi. These are pared back, highly legible, and just tell the time. I remember wanting one so badly, but at the time they retailed for about $200 Canadian, and I could not afford that. I did not have that kind of money going spare on something as frivolous as a watch. Daniel Wellington are quartz powered, but priced like an entry-level mechanical, and the money definitely isn't going to the design department. They were an era. I don't hate them, but yeah, they are hard to defend. Rolex doesn't usually get it wrong, but the Yacht-Master II might be one of those rare times. Introduced at Basel in 2007, this was niche in all regards. Functionally, being a regatta timer, this also debuted the ring command bezel system, which would align with race start times, and its size. So a 44mm chronograph, this was a beefy bit of kit. Once again, another product of its time. It's when size preferences were on the larger size. This was a bold, modern, functional, professional model. It was a good watch, but it just didn't hit with enough people and was discontinued in 2024. I think it's just a bit too big, a bit too busy, and doesn't align with the fantasy Rolex is trying to sell people. The dream Rolex sells is rugged, sport, climbing Everest, diving deeper, pilots in the sky. Regattas are a bit posh. And while I'm a floofy dandy, regattas are awesome, I think it just doesn't align with Rolex, if that makes sense. For a watch channel, I don't talk about the Apple Watch as much as I probably should. And I'd like to open this one with a question. Would you say the Apple Watch satisfies your definition of a watch? Let me know in the comments. I can't wait to read what you guys say. So the Apple Watch is possibly the most successful watch of all time, and certainly of the 2000s. As of 2022, they have sold over 100 million units, and as of 2024, 300 million. To put that into perspective, the previous most successful watch, the F91W, has sold over 100 million units since 1989. So Apple has either surpassed that or almost matched it in 10 years. That's crazy. Regardless of how you feel about the Apple Watch, I don't have an Apple Watch. I have no desire to buy one, but I do get it. To me, it meets the core definition of a watch and maybe will be seen as an icon in the tech space and something really meaningful in the tech space. But for me, I could never say it's an iconic watch. Even the language used around it. The case is described as hardware. The insides, the movement is described as software. It's just not the language or perspective of horology. Most users replace their Apple Watch every 3 to 5 years, like their phone, due to declining battery performance, unable to support new software, and it won't be compatible with the current features. To be curt, I'd say it's landfill. To be a bit kinder, I would say it lacks longevity in all aspects to be considered an icon. What a grumpy way to end this video. I can't wait to see all your thoughts, opinions, everything on the Apple Watch in the comments down below. I'm sure it will get divisive, but you know, I want to hear your comments on everything. Did I miss anything in my best and worst? Did I get anything completely wrong? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching these videos, engaging with them in the comments. I have the best job in the world. Thank you for your viewership, and we'll see you in the next one. Hello, patrons. I'm sure you can hear it right now. My neighbor is getting their garden done, their patio, and there's a cement mixer right out front. It's been so hard to find little gaps where I could make a video work. Hopefully this does work. But thank you so much for supporting my weird little channel. I have the best job in the world. Even still, I have the best job in the world. Thank you so much for supporting the work we do here. I hope you keep enjoying the channel. And even if you don't, I hope you keep enjoying watches forever. They're awesome. You're awesome. Bye, guys.